It probably goes without saying that World War II was one of the most destructive conflicts in human history. Obviously, that war saw a huge loss in human life, but it also saw a lot of loss in art and in history. Well, today we are in Munich, Germany, and we're going to be going into this structure right here, which was also almost completely lost in the Allied bombing raids towards the end of the war. But what we are looking at here is probably one of the more iconic structures in all of Munich. This is the Frauenkirche. It's also called the Munich Cathedral. And you can see the twin towers there kind of give it its iconic look, and because of height limitations in Munich, it's also something that kind of stands out above other buildings. And again, like so many other things in this part of the world, this is just a very old structure. So there was a church that was here in the 1200s, not this church, but I'm sorry, in the 1100s. I'm sorry. That served as a church here in Munich. And then in 1468, construction on this cathedral began under the leadership of a guy named Georg von Halsbach. Now, there was no stone quarry nearby, so they had to use brick as the building material. So like I said, construction began in 1468, and then they ended up running out of money by 1479, so they had to get some money from the Pope, and then they were able to complete it. Now, these towers here are over 320 feet tall, so it kind of has a little bit of a Gothic style to it. We'll go inside here in a moment and take a look, but just such an amazing structure. And has a kind of an interesting legend that we're going to go inside and talk about. Okay, we just got into the cathedral here, and as you can see, there are a load of people in here today, so we're gonna do this the best we can. But as you walk in, you'll notice a footprint here on the floor. Well, there's a legend that the master builder was offered some help from the devil, and the condition that the devil had was that there couldn't be any windows in the cathedral. So old Georg supposedly takes him up on his deal, but tricks the devil, and he puts windows into the cathedral anyway, but they're blocked by these pillars. So the legend goes that the devil walks in, and when he sees that there are no windows, he's so happy that he stomps his foot in approval. But then he takes one more step forward, and when he does, he sees the windows, and in a rage, he breezes his way out of the church, and there's like this icy wind that follows him, and they say that there are times today when you can still feel the icy wind. So that's the story behind that footprint right there. And this church is absolutely beautiful, and I never cease to be amazed at how people could build such things in like the 13 and 1400s and it still survived today. But we almost lost this one. During the Allied bombing raids in 1945, the Frauenkirche was hit, and the damage that it sustained caused the roof to collapse. There was heavy damage to one of the towers, and a lot of the historic artifacts inside of this church were either lost in the bombing itself or lost in, the cleanup of all of the debris. I know that there were some wooden carvings in here from, I think, the 1400s. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was the 1400s that burned up in the fire from the bombing. So it's one of those things where you have to kind of weigh it out. The Allies were doing what they had to do at the time, but man, it hurts that we lost some of the things that we lost, and we're fortunate that structures like this survived. Side note, the church was, of course, rebuilt, but it wasn't fully restored until 1994. I can't show everything in this church because there's simply too much, but I will show a few things. What we are looking at here is a painting from Peter Candid in 1620 that depicts the ascension of Mary into heaven. So if you look here, you can see people who are mourning her death, and then as she ascends into heaven, she is greeted by her son Jesus, who is crowning her as she passes from this life to the next. And this thing is about 8 meters tall. Pretty amazing piece. Here's another altar painting that they have here in the church. And this one was painted around 1640 and is attributed to an artist named Caesar Fracenzano. And it's called The Adoration of the Shepherds. And you'll notice that the painting is quite dark, except for where the birth of Jesus is depicted, to depict light coming in a world filled with darkness. So you have Mary and the shepherds, looking at Jesus, and they don't notice, that above them the heavens have opened up, and that the angels are rejoicing the birth of Christ. All right, so that was just a small bit here at the Frauenkirche, a historic structure that was damaged, but fortunately not completely lost during World War II. Sadly, there were a lot of other structures that didn't see the end of the war and couldn't be saved. Got a lot more that we're going to be looking at here in Munich and also in this region of Germany. So we're going to go ahead and hop in the car and head off to the next place.